Hey guys, I'm Liz, and here's all the different tests and experiments that I did with this Goal Zero Lighthouse Mini Lantern, and let's get straight into the first one right now. First up, we have the unboxing, and this is what the Lighthouse Mini looks like, brand new. There's a Goal Zero here in Singapore, where I'm from, so I bought it directly from there. And here are a few shots of the brand new packaging that you can check out. Now, here's what you get in the box when you buy this. Of course, you get the mini lantern, and there's also a little user guide right here. You can also find this user guide directly on Goal Zero's website in a PDF form, so I'll put that link in the description below if you want to check it out. All of Goal Zero's lights, including this mini lantern, come with demo mode when you buy them brand new. To get this mini out of demo mode, just plug it into any powered USB port, like what it says here. If you don't take it out of demo mode, you can still turn it on and stuff, but the light will automatically go off in about 10 seconds. So remember, take it out of demo mode. Now here's a quick guide on how to use this Lighthouse Mini Lantern and what features it comes with. Take a look at this lantern. How many features can you see here? Oh yeah, if you're wondering what this piece of paper is, I'm just using it to cover the serial number at the bottom of my lantern here. Moving along, this mini comes with not one, not two, not three, but a whopping 9 features that you can see off the bat here. That's quite impressive for such a tiny light. I have this other rechargeable lantern from Core. This is the non-mini Lighthouse Core, so the bigger version of the Lighthouse Mini Core right here. And guess how many features it has? It only has 6 features, which is like 50% less than the Lighthouse Mini. Okay, so what are the features of the Mini? 1. This hanger at the top. 2. A carabiner loop. 3. A pre-attached USB charging cable. 4. A light adjustment knob. 5. A battery level indicator. 6. A USB output. 7. Collapsible legs. 8. A tripod thread. And 9. A magnetic base. That's really impressive. On the other hand, the non-mini Lighthouse doesn't have a carabiner loop, it doesn't have any legs at all, and it doesn't have the extra tripod thread. So this tiny little mini light is off to a great start. And of course, I'll go through every single feature of the mini in depth starting now. The first feature is the hanger at the top, which is a 3/4 hanger. This makes it easy to slide into any circle lantern loops at the top of your tent, like this. If you don't want to use it though, you can just click it into place and secure it to the top of the lantern instead. It's not a full loop though, so it's not the most secure when hanging on your pack or something, and that's where the carabiner loop comes in. So this is the loop for your carabiner, and there's just enough space for a standard one. I'm gonna hook on my carabiner right here, and as you can see, this is much more secure than the 3/4 hanger loop that we just went through. The next feature we're going to talk about is the charging cable, which is right here at the center of the lantern. The cable loops around the lantern like so. I'm going to unloop it right now and show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is the full length of the cable. It's exactly 10 inches long, not too short, but definitely not long either. Here's a close-up of where the cable is mounted inside the lantern, and to be honest, I don't like these pre-attached cables. Cables eventually wear out and fray, like one I have here from an older 3+ years camping lantern. If the same thing happens to the mini and your cable spoils, you won't be able to charge this anymore and this lantern's going to be useless. So I'd recommend treating your lantern with care and not yanking on the cable too much. And when you're planning to pack the lantern away into your pack, always stow the cable away to minimize any damage. I like that it loops around the lantern very easily, and there's even a tiny magnetic strip here that helps clip the USB head in place. And moving into a closely related test, what is the charging time and process like with this Lighthouse Mini? Well, when the Mini is completely flat, turning this knob either way will not produce any light at all. Also, the battery lights will be completely dead too. This is when I usually plug it in to charge. And when it starts charging, the battery light indicator will start blinking at 1. It moves to 2 lights about 1.5 hours in, and then 3 lights about 2.5 hours in, and finally 4 lights at close to about 3 hours and 45 minutes in. And mine stops blinking completely at about 5 hours, which means that it is completely charged. I'm going to talk about the light adjustment knob here, which is the next feature of this Mini. You can turn the knob to the left like this, and that will light up half the lantern. Or if you prefer, you can turn this knob to the right instead, and that will light up the full lantern. Two cons there. First, this knob is a little bit stiff, and with just one hand, it's difficult to turn on the Mini, which also made filming this for YouTube a little bit difficult. And second, I wish it had a wider range of motion. Right now, it goes from here, where my index finger is, to just over here at the max brightness. So this is the range of motion. It would be much better if it had double the range of motion instead, for more control and easier fine-tuning over the brightness. What's the lumen output for this lantern? It says here at the bottom of the lantern that it has a max output of 210 lumens. However, when I actually tested this using the lux meter, the Mini gave me a max lumen output of more like 530 lumens, which is more than double the official specs. When I tilt the lux meter to show you the reading, it will drop in lumens down to more like 500, but the reading I got is about 530 lumens. As for the minimum lumen output, I don't think I saw any official specs for this, but I measured that and it comes in at 0 lumens, which is nice for a nightlight. As for the shine radius of this Mini, which is the longest distance that this lantern can throw its light, I tested that as well, of course. This is the Mini at its max 530 lumen setting, and it's just sitting on my tripod there. Now this is the Mini up close, and the lux meter is showing the insane max brightness of 400 plus lumens. And to test this, I'm going to back away from the lantern. You can check out the lux meter and how it reads less and less light as we back away from it. Now, here's the exact place where there's a 0 lumen reading. This means that the lux meter can no longer detect any light from the Mini. Now, this distance here is the shine radius, which comes up to about 8 and a bit of my footsteps. I also measured this distance here, and that came in at about 7 feet, or 84 inches, or about 2.1 meters. If you're wondering, here's what the Mini looks like without any light: the dimmest mode for the full lantern, the brightest mode for the full lantern, the brightest mode on half the lantern, and of course, the dimmest mode on half the lantern. Okay, let's take a little refresher here, and so far, here's all the info that we've gathered on the Mini. So we've got the max lumens, minimum lumens, and shine radius. What does this all mean when you actually go camping? Let's find out. Okay, this is me in my 6-person Coleman Sundome tent. I have the Lighthouse Mini on its max brightness, and it lights up the entire 6-person tent very nicely. Here's me sitting right at the very edge of the tent, or at least I'm trying to, and I'm able to read books, play cards, or anything like that. On the minimum 0 lumen setting though, the entire tent is just not lighted up at all. You can't do anything with this kind of lighting. This is what I'm looking at when I'm trying to read a book on this dim setting. You can't even see it very much, let alone the words on the book. I think it's best to just use this as a nightlight. It's the right setting for that. Oh, and here's what it looks like on the brightest setting when I'm lying down. Too bright for a nightlight for sure. I especially like the half lantern setting here. You can turn on half the lantern and face it away from you so that it's not too glaring on the eyes when you're camping. And here's what the Sundome looks like from the outside on both the brightest setting and the dimmest setting. And as for the light color or light temperature, that comes in at 3500 Kelvin, which is a little more on the warmer end. The light quality is decent. It has a frosted globe, which I wish could have been a little more frosted. I don't think it shows up on the camera, but in real life, where I am without the camera, I can see the 2 LED lights inside the lantern, one on each side. And on the brightest setting, I found that it's a little glaring up close, but overall I still quite like the light. I just wish the frosting could have been a little bit better. As for the runtime, you can find them during the unboxing. We're going to test the longest runtime first, and that's the dimmest setting on half the lantern. It says 500 plus hours right here, and want to take a guess at how long it lasted before I tell you? I started at a full 4 battery lights. It went down to 3 lights at about 240 hours, 2 lights at 360 hours, 1 light at 500 hours, and drumroll please, it went flat at a whopping 616 hours. That's more than 25 full days. That is very impressive for such a tiny light. But to be fair, to get to this dimmest setting, I shifted the knob only ever so slightly to produce as little light as possible. And here's a shot of me trying my best to get it to that dimmest setting. Now, here's what it looks like on my bed. It's not a lot of light, but it's still kind of useful for a little bit of illumination. Now, the runtime on the brightest setting is with the full lantern, not just half, and it should run at the max brightness for 4 hours. This max brightness is bright enough to light up a small room and also an entire 6-person camping tent, but this time it sadly didn't run for the full 4 hours and it went flat at about the 3.5-hour mark. The next feature I promised to tell you about is the battery level indicator, which is basically just these 4 blue lights here. I think you've seen enough of these for now above, and I've also given you exact timings on these lights, but here's a quick summary just in case you skipped over that. I think the lights were very accurate when I was charging up the Mini and also when I was using it on the brightest setting. But on the dimmest setting though, the timings were a little bit off. But I've seen worse, so I guess this actually did pretty okay. Moving quickly onto the next feature, here's the USB output just below the battery level lights. This is a 5V 1A output, so this is not a high powered output. It only charges mobile phones and other small devices, and this Mini has a capacity of 3200 mAh, which should be enough to charge my iPhone 12. Let's find out. Now I've got the Mini fully charged, 4 battery indicator lights here. I haven't used any light modes at all. I've also plugged in my iPhone charger, and let's see how much juice it'll give my iPhone 12. And of course, here are all the screenshots along the way. I'm starting the charge with just 17%. 45 minutes in, 48%. Almost an hour in, and I'm at 55%. This was also when I noticed the battery lights dropping from 4 to 3. An hour and 15 minutes in, 65%. An hour and a half, 75%. And the battery lights dropped from 3 to 2. Just shy of 2 hours in, 89%. And the battery lights dropped from 2 to 1. And about 5 minutes later, just about the 2-hour mark, I've got a 91% charge and the lantern went flat. I couldn't use any light modes at all after this. Honestly, I found it a bit weird that the battery level dropped from 2 to 0 so damn quickly in like 30 minutes. You'd think that you'd have half a charge left, but it's more like just a quarter charge left. Let me revise the chart that I showed you earlier in the video on the battery indicator lights. I've added this extra mobile charging column here, and I take back what I said before. Maybe the battery lights aren't that great after all, especially when it comes to the mobile charging. Well, at least now you know. Moving on to yet again the next feature, there are 2 of these collapsible legs by the side here, which you can use to prop the Mini up a little bit so you can get a bit more of a shine rather than having it sit on the ground. This also works wonders when it comes to uneven terrain, and the Mini sits quite well even on a slope. The legs aren't the best I've seen because they can be quite flimsy compared to a 3-legged lantern like the Apollo or even a 2-legged lantern like the Lighthouse 600. But as long as you don't touch it or fiddle with it too much, it's better than no legs. Also, you can just put the collapsible legs together and you'll be able to hang the lantern upside down, which is really nice. But here's something not many lanterns have, and that's a tripod thread. There's a 1/4 of an inch tripod thread, hence the 1/4 fraction here, and this 20 means 20 threads per inch. Yeah, that's kind of confusing, but all you need to know is that this is a standard tripod thread, so you can use it almost anywhere. This is my Mini on my tripod, and it looks really great. The legs here are much more stable, and it can get really high off the ground too. And also, still on the base of the Mini, there's a single magnet over here. It's not the strongest lantern magnet I have, but it's also not the weakest, and I was able to hang it right side up, like this, upside down, like this, and on the side as well. Not the strongest magnet because it's not that big, but it does the job. If you want to hang this on a car though, it secures a lot better that way, and I never had to worry about it dropping off. As for waterproofing or an IPX rating, this Mini doesn't have one, and that's because the pre-attached USB cable is fully exposed to the elements. See, that's why I don't like pre-attached cables. And also, there's a huge gaping hole in the USB port. I put another of my Gold Zero lanterns through the rain, and water got into the frosted globe, and I couldn't get it out. So if you're looking to take your lantern through some bad weather, go for a lantern that does have an IP rating, like my IP66 LED Lantern ML6. This lantern has flaps to cover the outputs and inputs, so it's way better when it comes to waterproofing. Another test here is the drop test from about my hand height, which is about the height that I usually drop my stuff. So far, this lantern is holding up great. It looks like the light is flashing a little bit, but that's just my camera being weird, not the lantern. I have no idea why it does that. If it doesn't work though, Goal Zero gives you a 2-year warranty on this lantern. It's not a very long warranty though. I do wish it would be at least 3 years or more. As for portability, here are all the marketed specs on the bottom of the box when I was unboxing it. Let's find out if they're accurate. For weight, we've got this lantern weighing about 8.04 ounces or 228 grams. And for its dimensions, that comes in at about 2.9 by 2.9 inches at the top of the lantern, and the length is right about 4 inches. That's 7.4 by 7.4 by 10.2 centimeters. So far, the marketed specs are pretty accurate. For pros, I mean, this mini is just so cute. It's a little smaller than I thought it would be when I first bought it, and I love the cute, tiny size of it. It fits just nicely into the palm of my hand, and it's definitely one of my more portable, rechargeable lanterns. On top of that, there's loads of features for such a tiny light. You have these collapsible legs, a magnetic base so you can hang it upside down, a tripod thread so you can get it off the ground more, and not one but 2 loops at the top of the mini. And that's just the physical features of this lantern. The max brightness has a much higher lumen output than I expected, and I love the 0 lumen output on the dimmest setting too. Coupled with the completely adjustable knob here, this gave me total control over how much light I wanted and needed. And the Mini also has a much longer than expected runtime on the dimmest setting, coming up to over 600 hours, which is very impressive. As for cons, I wouldn't say that there are any major ones because most of the tests that I ran on this Mini came in better than I expected. The biggest one I would say is that this newer Mini model is a bit of a downgrade from the older model. With the older model, you have the ability to swap out the internal battery with a fresh new battery. There's this latch at the bottom that you can remove and change out the batteries. With this newer model that I have though, you can't do that. Goal Zero got rid of the bottom ledge right here. I'm not sure why they did that because it's such a good feature to have. One improvement from the older model though is the slightly improved cell capacity, up from 3000 mAh in the older model to 3200 mAh in the newer model that I have right here. Another con I wish they could improve on is the waterproofing. It would be great to have a plug that seals off the USB output here, and they could just give us a non-pre-attached cable, which would be great. Other than that, it's a very solid tiny light and I really like mine very much. Do I recommend it though? Well, there are quite a few other rechargeable lanterns in the market that I think do better than the Mini, so I'd recommend watching this video on the screen here before making your decision. You're awesome and I'll see you in that one.